Sneaking in a little quickie Patriots press pass schedule release. I haven't gotten a chance to talk to my man Tyler for a little bit here. He's been on the DL a little bit.
I've been writing. I've been in the lab.
Taylor's been writing his butt off, and he's going to be making his way to Boston soon and covering all of the Patriots stuff in person. But now we have a good idea what's going on, and with the Patriots schedule, again, the way it's set up, you know who they're going to play in advance. It's just a matter of when. And Taylor, this stuff cracks me up because, first of all, what cracks me up the most is breaking news schedule Twitter. Like, it's the most important thing in the world to find out at 3:00 what the schedule is, as opposed to like, I can wait till 8. Okay, I can wait, but it's still interesting and it's really fun. So we'll go through the entire schedule and kind of lay it out and talk about some difficult moments. And it really is interesting to start. And I really want your thoughts. And obviously you can read all of Taylor's kind of broken the whole thing down, following along all day as stuff was released on CLNSmedia.com. First off, I want to tell you, the podcast is powered by FanDuel. Head over to FanDuel.com/Boston. And take advantage of a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Once again, no-sweat first bet. You bet, you lose, up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if that's what you feel like. So let's just start it out. Let's look at the whole thing first. Here it is. Oh, my goodness, that's so many games. Philadelphia Eagles, that's Tom Brady, okay? Miami Dolphins, Sunday Night Football, Jets, Cowboys. They start home. Which is good, but home against Philly is not that good. New Orleans, Vegas, Bills, Dolphins, Commanders, the Colts, that's in Germany. Bye week is week 11. That's not a bad week to have it.
No.
And then Giants, Chargers, Steelers, Monday Night Football for Kansas City. Denver, that's a Christmas Eve game. Buffalo Bills, that's a New Year's Eve game. And they finish with the Jets at home. So let's get into it. Starting out, Tom Brady celebration week. This was another thing that was announced today. This is the day they're going to honor Tom Brady. Tom likes you. We like Tom. Everybody's happy. He's going to come here. He's going to be honored. Maybe he'll be the quarterback by week 4. We'll see about that. Let's start here. This is a rough first game for the new, for a million reasons. But a great test for the Patriots defense. And if this is going to be a defense first team, man, you're up against it right out of the gate.
Great test for their offense too, because you got, Georgia's entire collegiate front. Yeah. Yes. Obviously you think that defense first, because especially going through all my predictions, when you look through it, it's like, okay, yeah, the defense is probably going to be the reason they're in a lot of these games, because you're not necessarily expecting the offense to go put up 30 points a game. But they're good enough that I think they can give you 3 touchdowns and really be a reason that you're at least not behind. So, but yeah, man, that opener is brutal. I was kind of worried about the Eagles game, and this is usually what they do. A lot of the time, the Patriots will get a couple tough opponents in the first month. And then in the middle, which is what I think this schedule shows, you get that kind of soft middle belly where there's plenty of winnable games, time for them to get on track. And then it kind of ramps up again towards the end. But yeah, man, I think the Bills are probably the only team you could have put in that place that would have been tougher to face, especially considering you look at the first month. The Eagles and Cowboys, I think you could argue, were their 2 toughest out-of-conference matchups. Those are 2 really well-rounded teams, great in the trenches, dual threat quarterbacks, playmakers at receiver and cornerback. So those are 2 of the hardest games that they were already going to have, period. And then on top of it, they're going to have to face the Dolphins in week 2, obviously the fastest offense in the league, on top of the fact that they've got Jalen Ramsey to go with Xavier Howard and that great secondary, as well as David Long Jr., who I really like at linebacker, kind of not taking over for Landon Roberts because they play different roles. But I think he's an upgrade when you think of a coverage type linebacker. Then the Jets, obviously, the Aaron Rodgers-led Jets, which is another really tough one, and that's at New York. In my prediction, I've got that as a loss for them, actually.
Well, that's the thing is, let's go through it. So it's not like it's automatic.
Right.
But what it is Philly's tough and it's really hard. You'd have to be a real optimist here to call it, that's a winnable game. Of course, every game is a winnable game, but that's a tough one. You do escape going to Miami in September, so that's a big bonus there, getting Miami at home in week 2, and certainly a winnable game. And so is the Jets. The danger of 0-3 and 0-4 is there. The danger of 0-2 heading into the Jets game is there as well. So you definitely have to. You really have to win one of those 2 division games, if not both of them, honestly, because that's going to be difficult. And again, of course you can beat the Cowboys. Of course you can beat.
Yeah.
You have no idea what this team's fully going to look like, and there still might be a piece or 2 to come. It's hard to say, but on paper, you're looking to be underdogs. I mean, you're going to be betting underdogs 3 of those first 4, no question about it.
Absolutely. Like, I've got it as
possibly 4 of those first 4, possibly even the Jets, which you have as a loss.
Yeah, no, I've got the Jets as a loss. I think they're going to split against the Jets next year. I think that early one is kind of when the Jets are going to catch them. You know, the Patriots spend the first month as an extended preseason. So you're going to see players in positions they're not necessarily going to be playing later in the year. They're still trying to figure out how everything works. I think the Jets can get them maybe in that early game, although I do think they'll win the second one. The Dolphins, I have this one. Let me just double check my rankings. This one I have as a win, actually, and that's because they're at home. If this was an early season game in Miami, also anytime they're at Miami, that was kind of my rule in my prediction. If they're at Hard Rock or if they're playing Josh Allen, those have to be losses. And I think you're really like, I'm the optimist, and I think that's almost delusional if you're going to say that they win those games, because they never beat Josh Allen, or they have in the past few years. And then Hard Rock is a freaking house of horrors. So those are the tough ones. But I do think they pull one out against the Cowboys, but that's mostly dependent on Dak Prescott. Because we saw the Patriots and Cowboys went neck and neck in 2021, Max rookie year, but that was also because Dak Prescott was on fire. Like, he was not making mistakes. Everything they threw at him, mostly he was handling it pretty well. But now you got last season where Dak was committing more turnovers, wasn't as protective of the ball as he typically is, the reason why you think of him as one of the better young quarterbacks. So I think if Belichick can trick him into a couple mistakes, that's where I could see it going the Patriots' way, and they split 2-2.
Okay, and so we're starting out at 2-2 according to Taylor. I'm looking at this, and I've got the Patriots at. Let me quickly go through. 2-15. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. If you start 2-2, you've got a miserable Saints team and a very winnable Vegas Raiders game. You have a shot at going 4-2. Is that what you have going into Buffalo?
Yeah, I really do think the middle of that, again, the Bills, I think they get swept by the Bills just because you have to at this point. But yeah, the middle of that schedule is where I really see opportunities for them to get on track and really bolster that. So instead of being in 500-ish territory, I think they could really push for, like 600, somewhere like that.
Yeah. So we're 4-2 there. Hold on. Okay. We're 4-2 there. Let's pull it back up. This is Sonny. I'm letting Taylor drive this bus, okay? I've got enough negativity reserved for the Celtics. You guys can tune in and hear it later right now. No, I'm just kidding. They're winning right now. But anxiety and angst is a little high when Jason Tatum scores a single freaking point in the first half.
Damn.
He didn't even earn it.
That's crazy.
He didn't even earn it. It was on a technical.
Yikes.
So 4-2 going into Buffalo, 4-3, and then at Miami. That one's tough. You chalk that up as a loss?
Yeah, so that's where it's kind of, the middle gets interesting because you get the 2 wins.
And then it's Washington and Indy after that. So
exactly. So it's like really there's that 6-game stretch where I think it's win-win, loss-loss, because like playing the Bills and then going to Miami, that's a really tough stretch.
Win-win, loss-loss, win-win. You're 6-4.
Exactly, right. Bye. So that's where I think, you start to get on track. Like I said, you get the bye week. The Giants are going to be a great midseason test, especially if Daniel Jones can capitalize on all the new weapons they got.
But we're not there yet. We're still prior to the bye. We've got a home game. We've got that game in Germany, which is fun as well, and that's the Colts. So it's a fun kind of look at Anthony Richardson and whatever the hell's going on there. But again,
that could be a fun backfield with Jonathan Taylor. That could be that's one of those where I think it could go either way as long as the Patriots can handle that rushing attack.
Yeah. So no doubt about it. Continuing through, let's get through that bye week, and then you're talking about the Giants and the Chargers.
Yeah, so I really think the Giants are a great test because obviously Saquon Barkley, I think their offensive line is going to take a step. They drafted the center out of Minnesota, I believe. I think Evan Neal is going to be better in his next season. He really struggled last year. So I think the run game is what's going to – they're honestly kind of similar teams where I think the run game is going to keep them in it. But also Daniel Jones, now he's got Jalen Hyde, he's got Darren Waller, he's got Paris Campbell. He's got enough weapons that now there's not the excuse of, oh, you can't even name a Giants receiver. They've got a better receiving core, but I think the Patriots also match up well. So, I could see that being a tight game. But the Giants on the other side, they got Deonte Banks, who was one of my favorite press corners in the draft for that secondary. That was a bit of a liability, especially when they didn't have a Dory Jackson last season. But Dexter Lawrence is an absolute beast in the middle. Kayvon Thibodeau, obviously, is a good young edge rusher. So that's a team that's kind of similar to the Patriots, where they're defensive led. The running game is really where they have a lot of their success on offense, but you don't know what the passing game is going to be. So once you get a better feel for that, I think you could be more or less confident in that matchup. But it should be a good one.
So where did you put that in the win-loss column? Because we're 6-4 through the bye.
Yeah, that one I put as a win. I said I think the Patriots pull it out with their run defense, keeping them in the game, and the weak links in New York's pass defense, basically people not named Deonte Banks.
So 7-4. I would say moving on to the Chargers, where it's 7-4 right now. I will say the Chargers was the overall best game they played last year.
Yeah, 100%. So that kind of follows that similar rule of Josh Allen and Hard Rock, where like those are automatic. You got to say it. Justin Herbert's never come really specifically close to beating Bill Belichick. I don't think he's ever scored 20 points against Bill Belichick, because typically they play a lot of zone. They try to switch up the look with Herbert pre-snap. They don't really blitz him very often, and when they do, it's very methodical. And it's really kept him off track. So I think you kind of have to assume that when the Patriots and the Chargers play, that's usually a game where the Patriots are going to excel, because those, even when the Cam Newton season, that was one of the best games they had all year. And then obviously they had the stinker the next week against the Rams. But yeah, I think the Chargers and the Patriots, the Pats match up well with them.
Okay. So now we're at 8-4. Wow, things are cooking here. The Patriots, they could be threatening for the top of the division there at 8-4. Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh is a mess. I'm guessing you've got this one. It's a Thursday night game as the Patriots win 9-4. Then you're moving on to play the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Monday Night Football, Week 15. Okay, so I was correct in Pittsburgh being a win at 9-4. You're 9-4 entering the KC game. You don't like it.
So I actually did this was my bias pick. I said that there was one where people could really fight me on it and I wouldn't really argue. I'd be like, yeah, you're probably right. I'm definitely, sipping the Kool-Aid here. The biggest reason I do think it's actually going to be competitive is what I've mentioned a few times, is that Belichick has shut Patrick Mahomes out in at least one half of every single game they played. There's been 3 total. So, fool me once, fool me twice. He's done it 3 times. Clearly Belichick understands that if you can challenge KC's receivers, which typically it's Travis Kelce is the main guy you're going to have to worry about next year, ideally. If you can challenge the receivers and get pressure up front, that's how you beat Mahomes, because you're not going to beat Patrick Mahomes. You beat the guys around him. And I think they match up really well with KC, actually. So I'm going to say, I think, especially because it's a home game, I think the Patriots can at least take it down to the fourth quarter. If they get the ball last, you milk the clock, take every second you can off and win with a field goal. But at the same time, like if the Chiefs win by, a touchdown, 10 points because they break away in the fourth quarter, yeah, 100% I can see that. But I do think that's going to be more competitive than people would probably expect.
Okay. So we have that. We're going back into it, Kansas City. So it's funny. They're 9-4 entering the Kansas City game, and that was your first biased pick to get them to 10-4. Okay.
But it wasn't that. I mean, I don't think my predictions are that crazy.
I hear you. Now nothing here is beyond the realm of possibility, with the exception of, as you said, KC being an off the reservation one. 10-4. Broncos are the Broncos. And that one, 11-4 there. And you're entering then the Buffalo Bills matchup here, and you've got them getting swept by the Bills.
Yeah. So
and that puts you at 11-5. And then the Jets, you said they're splitting. So you've got the Patriots finishing 12-5 this year by my math.
Yeah. And again, there's definitely some games that could go either way. I think the Giants and the Chiefs are the biggest ones where I had them as wins. Could easily see those being losses because I think those games are still going to be close. But even still, I think 12-5 is pretty understandable when you consider the Patriots aren't a team that gets blown out. And that was the biggest thing I thought of looking through this, is that a lot of the predictions were just, this is going to be a tight game that could go either way. There were games last year where, like the Ravens, where they were in it in the fourth quarter and then it started to slip away midway through and the outcome looked worse than it actually was. And this is a better team, I think, than they've had in the past couple seasons. By a pretty significant margin, especially when you consider coaching. on offense and the improvements they've made since last season there. So yeah, 12-5. I could also see them being, 10-7. I don't think that's outside of the realm of possibility, but I do think that it's pretty reasonable to call this a 10-win, a team with the potential to be a 10-win team.
Okay. So why does Vegas have them as a 7-win team?
Because Vegas doesn't share my optimism.
There we go. They do not. But however, if you share Taylor's optimism, I'm going to tell you what you can do right now. You should literally head off of this stream immediately. And if you're down with Taylor and he's fired you up here, you head right over to FanDuel, lay it all on the line on the Patriots here to cover that over. And I'm not sure where it was most recently, but it was bottom of the division. I believe it was 7.5. But I need to double check that. But again, in addition to football and all of these, future bets that you can make on the NFL, FanDuel is the official sponsor of the NBA. The NBA playoffs are underway. You can head over to FanDuel.com/Boston and take advantage of this special offer, a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So that's a lot to play with there again. So go to FanDuel.com/Boston, download the app. It's super safe, super secure. You get paid instantly if you win. No better place to bet all the playoff action rather than America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel. It's also the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. Once again, FanDuel.com/Boston. No sweat, first bet, $1,000. Can you argue with that?
Absolutely not. Sounds good to me.
Can't argue with that. Here it is in big, bold writing, just so you can see it as well.
Oh, that's what I like.
Yep. No sweat, first bet. As we said, the schedule's been released. And you've known the opponents. It's always interesting. In addition to, the opponent breakdown, how do you think it breaks down just in terms of the flow of it? Right now, they're fortunate. They don't have, you've got a stretch of 3 or 4 on the road late with the Thursday at Philly, but you do have a long time to get ready for that KC game there for Monday night. And that's not bad. Denver, Buffalo is what it is within the elements there. That doesn't necessarily favor the Bills any more than it does you. And then finishing at home with the Jets. There's not a lot of landmines I can see in this schedule. It's just that start. It's the start because you're starting with an L most likely, and you really don't want to start with 2 facing the Jets and Aaron Rodgers for the first time. And again, I'm confident against the Jets and Aaron Rodgers too, in the sense that I don't think it's, those are both winnable games. I think both Miamis and both Jets are totally both winnable, but they're also both losable. The problem here is if you look at all of them, let's go through guaranteed wins here. Guaranteed wins, and again, you would think the Saints were a guaranteed win, right? But they weren't last year. They're not every year. Or was it 2 years ago?
That was a couple years ago. Yeah, that was when they just blew it late in the game. I think they fumbled or something like that.
So if you looked at the schedule and you're like, cupcakes, let's line up the cupcakes, the automatics. Saints, Commanders, Colts, Pittsburgh. 4, right?
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
4 cupcakes. Denver, maybe.
Denver, the Sean Payton effect is the only reason I take them seriously.
But if there's 5 teams on paper, you're considered to be better than. I mean, if there's teams, if you just look at it on paper, so that's 5. The way I look at it is, if you were to say, if you look at it a different way, if you look at KC and the 2 Buffaloes, as forget about it. Let's just say you looked at it that way, and you X 3 off the table. That's 8 that are gone. Okay. Now you've got 9 that are toss-ups, and therein lies whether or not they're going to have a team that makes the playoffs or not. Because those 9 toss-ups, many of which you have going to them, are also totally losable games, and that includes the 2 Jets, the 2 Miami, Dallas, Vegas. The Giants, the Chargers.
Vegas doesn't scare me. Honestly, they were so bad against Vegas. They should have. I get what you're saying, though.
Those are not, the Patriots are not good enough to say, like old Patriots, you're looking at a schedule and you're like, they would literally have to intentionally try to lose to go any worse than 12-4. You could look at any schedule from that period of time when they were, winning the AFC East every year, and you're like, 11 wins would be a colossal disaster. It was unfathomable that they could win fewer than 11. And most times it ended up 12, 13 or more. Now it's a different ball game. You're looking at 4 or 5 you feel pretty good about. 3 or so, 3, 4 you don't, and the rest are coin flips. So I guess that's what it's going to come down to. Who are they? Are they on the better end of that? Are they ahead of those teams? Are they ahead of that middle class like the Raiders?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Raiders are worse than they were. Definitely not even middle class last year, but the Patriots found a way to lose. But are they ahead of those teams or not? Like, you feel confident that they are clearly going to be altogether better teams than those type of kind of the Giants and the whatevers out there? I mean,
I think
the
so
Giants are a
because they
playoff
have
team, you know? Right.
Right. No, and I don't want to disrespect the Giants. Like, I just don't see Daniel Jones as a threat as a quarterback, but they have such a talented team around him that it's kind of the opposite of Mac Jones, where I'm confident that Mac Jones can elevate the talent around him as a distributor. Whereas I'm not sure about that with Daniel Jones, but he has the physical talent and I think better receivers around him when you look at his full picture to be like, okay, this could kind of go either way. Another thing I want to point out is, obviously, we think of how tough this schedule is, and especially just in the division, it's tougher than what the Patriots have had to deal with in the past decade plus. But at the same time, there's the idea of iron sharpens iron, right? So if you're playing, especially the first month of the season, like, they're going to know where all their deficiencies are by October, because they will have played some of the best teams that they're going to play all season, and teams that if they were to make a playoff run, they could very likely see multiple times. So it gives you a better litmus test. It's, you can say, okay, against this quality of opponent, certain guys need to be in this position or that position, especially with dual threats or really young, talented guys like they're going to face early on. So, as much as I think it's fair to lean towards, all right, this is a tough schedule and they could definitely fall off and maybe not be a 10-win team, although, again, I think they will. I think the fact that they are playing such a high quality of opponent gives them a better chance of being a competitive team, because they're going to be prepared when it gets late into the season, when they faced resiliency on what's probably going to be a week in and week out basis, until they get closer to the bye week and get out of that gauntlet where they're facing a division rival in consecutive weeks, in the beginning and then towards the middle as well. So it's going to be interesting. We'll see. But I think the coaching changes are the biggest reason that I'm more confident in this team and their ability to rise above the teams that are not so great, because they have good enough talent. And I think the coaching's going to elevate that.
And to avoid some of the conversations and debates that you and I have gotten into over and over and over again, I'm not going to give my take there. Other than to just simply reiterate, I think we are putting a lot on the coaches here to see marked improvement in a team that I think is going to look relatively close to, at least on paper, talent-wise, what they were last year. Certainly competent coaching will make a difference. The question, again, comes up to how big a difference. Taylor's got it as a pretty big difference. So I guess that's really what it comes down to. And it's certainly within the realm of possibility.
And the defensive special teams, that's a huge, we could talk about the offense. Special teams alone takes a few touchdowns, a few pivotal drives off the board.
Maybe.
You're hoping. That's pretty huge.
Again,
not even hoping. You get a punter who can kick further than 20 yards.
Yeah, I know. I get it. I mean, the punting situation ended up really poorly, but the coverage was pretty bad all year long. Yeah. So we'll see. There's a lot of other interesting things still going on around the team. And one of the cool things is we're going to actually get a chance to look at them coming up soon with OTAs, where they let the media attend, which means you get to put eyes on some people out there, hopefully to see a couple of the rookies, which is very cool. So we will have more Patriots coverage and some in-person coverage as the team kind of goes through their off-season workouts as we head into mini camp and then ultimately training camp in the summer. So there's still a ton to see and a ton to talk about. But this was kind of like that last little official NFL moment following the draft. The schedule is out. Now it's up to the teams to just kind of go do their business, and we'll see what happens. So we've got a lot more. There's going to be a special announcement regarding a new Patriots show. We are not going to tell you about it yet, but it features one of us here. And so we'll tell you about what that's going to be. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun as we welcome in another, fun, exciting, knowledgeable member into the CLNS Media family. But I'm not telling you, and Taylor's not going to tell. Taylor might, because he's a little gossip queen taken to Twitter, and he loves to get out there and just talk about stuff. So he might spill it, but we're going to try not to. So thank you guys for joining. We are going to keep it short. I do want to tell everybody, whoever's out there, if you want to check it out, check out our Celtics post-game show after Celtics Sixers Game 6. The game is going on right now. It is 60-53. Jason Tatum just scored his first basket. No. Hey. Did he? Yes, he did.
I don't know.
It says he did. So, yes, he did. He scored a single basket. He is now 1 of 12 with 3 points. Congratulations, Jason. Celtics are up right now, but it is still close. It's going to be interesting. They lose, and everybody knows what that means. The season is over, which means we turn to Patriots much, much, much sooner than we had ever intended. I'm not ready for the winter sports teams to be gone, Taylor. I'm not.
No.
Let's
pull one out for John.
Yeah, please. Anyway, we will see you guys later on. Again, check out that post game show. Check out Celtic CLNS for a link to that show. It comes on right after the game. We will have you covered. Until then, we're going to say goodnight. Taylor Kyles, John Zannis. Check out CLNS Media. Taylor's got a very full, well-reasoned breakdown for why he thinks the Patriots are going to go 12-5 this season. Make sure you read that on clnsmedia.com.